3 months ago, I sat in a sterile hospital room with fluorescent lights buzzing faintly above me, holding Ashley's pale, trembling hand. Her heart monitor was the only sound between us, a mechanical rhythm that could stop at any moment. The doctors called it a cardiac anomaly, something rare, something aggressive. There were nights when I thought I was saying goodbye. Nights I'd lie awake in that awful fold-out chair beside her, just praying to hear that beeping for one more hour. But she survived, against the odds, and something changed in her, not just physically. Her near-death experience rewired her, made her bolder, freer, hungrier. You know what almost dying teaches you, she'd said one night, curled up on the couch beside me, her newly short-cropped hair brushing my cheek. That life is too short for fear. At first, I thought she was just grateful to be alive. I was too. Hell, I'd have followed her to the edge of the world if she'd asked me to. We've been married 10 years. A decade of loyalty, laughter, occasional fights over takeout orders and thermostat settings. But love. Real love. Or so I believed. That new Ashley? She started drinking green juices, doing hot yoga, reading books with titles like Unshackled Intimacy and Daring to Feel. She meditated, took solo walks barefoot in the grass, talked about energetic alignment and chakras. At first, I smiled. I was just relieved to see color back in her cheeks, her laughter back in our kitchen. Then she looked at me one morning, eyes still sleepy, body wrapped in nothing but a silk robe, and said, "Have you ever thought about opening things up?" I blinked, coffee halfway to my lips. Open how? You know, letting go of old rules. Monogamy. Exploring together or separately. Living boldly. I stared at her like she'd just grown wings. She touched my cheek with the gentlest of fingers. Don't you ever wonder what it would be like to just let go? No fear. No guilt. Just connection. Pleasure. I won't lie. There was a part of me that stirred. She looked radiant when she spoke like that. Something raw in her voice, her body humming with this newfound intensity. She'd always been beautiful. Brown eyes with flecks of gold, the kind of smile that softened me in seconds. But now she had a confidence that burned like sunlight through fog. Still, the idea of other people, other hands, other mouths. Is this something you want? I asked, cautious. I'm not saying we act on it tomorrow, she said with a soft smile. But maybe we think about it. Together. Life gave us a second chance. Maybe we should do something brave with it. And maybe I should have said no. Maybe I should have shut it down right then and there. But I didn't. I agreed tentatively, because I was grateful. Because I didn't want to be the boring, scared husband while she was busy reinventing herself. Because there was something magnetic about her in this new state. More sensual, more alive. She touched me more, kissed me like she meant it. Our sex life, which had dipped during her illness, roared back. Late-night sessions in the kitchen, early morning showers that turned into slippery, wet gasps against the tile. There were moments she looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time all over again. And yet, there was a weight in my chest I couldn't shake. A sense that I was walking towards something I didn't understand. One night, after another one of those slow-burning, tangled-up-in-sheets kind of nights, she lay with her head on my chest and whispered, "Don't you feel it? This freedom." I wanted to say yes, but all I felt was a fuse being lit somewhere deep in the walls of our marriage. I couldn't see the spark yet, but I could smell the smoke. Still, I held her tighter. I told myself we were fine. That love was enough. That maybe this new chapter would bring us closer than ever. But second chances come with a cost, and I was about to find out just how high that price could be. The first time I saw Sarah, she was watering her garden in nothing but a thin white tank top and yoga shorts that clung to her thighs like a second skin. The sun hit her just right, backlit through the water spray from her hose, and for a second, I could have sworn time slowed. It wasn't even something conscious. My eyes just paused, watched the beads of water roll down the swell of her chest, caught the way her damp hair clung to her collarbone. "Morning," she called out, as if she hadn't just tilted the axis of my world with a single glance. I tried to keep it casual. "Hey, nice day for it." She smirked, the kind of smirk that knows exactly what it's doing. It usually is on this side of the street. Jason, her husband, wasn't around. He rarely was. He worked long hours in tech, something with servers and security systems. Ashley had mentioned it once in passing during a neighborly chat over the fence. Jason's always busy, she said. Sarah, though she's a little wild. At the time, it didn't register as anything more than gossip, but I was starting to see what she meant. Sarah had that kind of energy, the kind that filled a room before she even walked in. And she knew it. The way she moved, the way she looked at you just a little too long, the way her fingers lingered on your forearm when she laughed. It wasn't overt, but it was constant, like a whisper in the back of your mind. Ashley didn't seem to notice. Or maybe she didn't care. She'd been deep in her new world lately. Self-discovery, yoga retreats, sound baths, whatever the hell ecstatic dance was. Every other weekend, she was gone. Off to the mountains with groups of strangers, or meditating under stars, or journaling by candlelight. She'd come back glowing, smelling of sage and lavender, talking about energy flows and tantric workshops. I met the most incredible soul this weekend, she said one Sunday as she unpacked her bag. His name's Orion. Sounds like a planet. She laughed. No, he's just awake. Most men are so asleep. I didn't know what that meant, but it hit me like a slap I wasn't supposed to feel. I didn't ask who Orion was. I didn't want to know. Instead, I turned inward. I focused on work. I mowed the lawn, fixed the gutters, took longer showers than I needed. But there was this lingering ache under my ribs, like something was slipping through my fingers and I was too numb to grab it. That's when Sarah started showing up more. It started with little things, offering me a beer while I was working in the garage, asking if I could help move some heavy furniture while Jason was out of town. Once, she showed up at my door barefoot, holding a Tupperware container of lemon bars. I made too many, she said with a grin. Figured you could use a little sugar. Ashley was away that weekend. I remember because the silence in the house felt heavier than usual. I offered to let Sarah in while I got a plate. She wandered into the kitchen like she owned it. You and Ashley seem different lately, she said, glancing around like she was inspecting the life I'd built. Different how? Just like two people living the same space, but not really in it anymore. I didn't answer right away. The truth felt too close. Too raw. Sarah stepped closer, her eyes locked on mine. You ever feel like you're holding your breath all the time? Waiting for someone to just see you again? I did. God, I did. But I said nothing. She didn't push. Just smiled softly and left the lemon bars on the counter. As she turned to leave, she said, "If you ever need to exhale, you know where I live." Her door was exactly 12 steps from mine. After she left, I sat at the kitchen island and stared at the lemon bars like they were a bomb waiting to go off. My phone buzzed. A text from Ashley. Having an incredible time. Sending you light and love. I stared at those words until the screen dimmed. That night, I dreamed of Sarah. Not in some wild, pornographic way, but in that slow, seductive dream logic where everything feels just slightly unreal and yet entirely possible. She touched my face in the dream, whispered things I couldn't remember after I woke up, but the heat in my chest lingered. A week later, we hosted a neighborhood barbecue. Ashley insisted. She was back from a 3-day retreat and full of energy, moving around the house in a loose kimono, her skin glowing with oils and self-assuredness. Sarah came wearing a black sundress, so thin it nearly floated when she walked. Jason showed up late, as usual. The whole evening was a blur of burgers, music, small talk. Ashley was radiant but distracted, floating from person to person like a social butterfly on Adderall. I caught her and Jason in the kitchen once, talking a little too closely. He was laughing, and she touched his arm the same way Sarah touched mine. The symmetry didn't escape me. Later, after the crowd had thinned and the fire pit was glowing low, Sarah came and sat beside me. Close. Too close. She smelled like vanilla and smoke. You looked tense all night, she said softly, brushing a speck off my shoulder. You okay? I looked at her. Really looked. She held my gaze like she wasn't afraid of what might come next. And I felt something twist in me. Something dangerous. Something undeniable. I told myself it was just curiosity. Just attention. But even then, I knew better. There's a moment, just a moment, when you realize you're past the point of no return. And oddly enough, it never feels like falling. It feels like floating. That moment for me happened in neighborhood barbecue. Hot dogs on the grill, laughter over cheap lawn chairs, kids running barefoot across the grass. It was the kind of evening that should have felt wholesome, grounding. Instead, it felt like the air itself was buzzing, charged with something invisible and volatile. Sarah had arrived in a sundress that clung in all the right places. Navy blue, low at the back, no bra. Her eyes found mine the moment she stepped into our yard. And when she smiled, it wasn't friendly. It was a dare. Ashley didn't notice. Or if she did, she didn't care. She floated from group to group like she was auditioning for some inner circle of enlightened suburbanites. Her laugh was louder than usual, her story sprinkled with phrases like expanding consciousness and heart-centered living. Sarah stayed close to me all evening, subtle at first, brushing past me a little too tightly at the cooler, handing me a drink with fingers that lingered against mine just long enough to feel deliberate. Her perfume was soft, vanilla, maybe something floral underneath. It hit like a memory I couldn't place. "Jason's working again," she said, handing me a bottle of beer, condensation slick against her fingertips. "I came solo. Hope that's okay." "Of course," I said, trying too hard to keep my tone neutral. "Seems like Ashley's doing the same." I glanced across the yard. Ashley was talking to two women from her yoga circle. One of them had her hand on Ashley's knee in that casually intimate way that people do when they want you to know they could go further if invited. Ashley was smiling, head tilted, the kind of body language that used to be mine. Sarah leaned in closer. "You look a little out of place," she said, eyes twinkling. "Too grounded for all this floaty energy." "Maybe I am," I replied. "Lately, I feel like I'm the only one who stayed on Earth while everyone else decided to live on some astral plane." She laughed, low, throaty, real. "Then maybe we need to start our own planet." That was when I knew I was in trouble. Later, after the sun dipped below the trees and the string lights cast everything in that golden, forgiving glow, I felt her again. I was cleaning up the table near the fire pit, stacking paper plates and tossing solo cups into the trash when Sarah appeared beside me. Barefoot now, dress swaying as she moved. "Let me help," she offered, but didn't touch a thing. Instead, she picked up a bottle of wine and poured us both a generous glass. We stood side by side, silent for a minute. "You ever feel invisible?" she asked suddenly, her voice softer now. I hesitated. "Lately, yeah." She turned to me then, fully. Her eyes were darker in the low light, and whatever playfulness had been there earlier was gone. "You're not invisible to me." I don't know how it happened, but suddenly we were too close. Her hand brushed my forearm, light at first, then firmer, sliding down in a way that was no longer just friendly. I felt the hairs on my arm rise, my breath catch. I should have stepped back, said something, anything. Instead, I stood there like a man caught in a riptide, aware of the danger but seduced by the pull. Ashley called my name from across the yard. I jolted like I'd been shocked. Sarah stepped away with a tiny smile. "Another time," she whispered, sipping her wine, then disappeared into the dark. That night, after everyone left, Ashley was radiant, flushed from wine and conversation. She undressed slowly in front of me, like she used when we were first married. She straddled me on the couch, kissed my neck, whispered things she hadn't said in months. I should have been grateful, relieved, but all I could think about, during the kisses, during the sex, even when she moaned my name and told me how alive she felt, was Sarah, and worse, how that made me harder. It was the kind of betrayal that starts as a thought, then becomes a fantasy, and finally, a possibility. Ashley fell asleep tangled in her sheets. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, hard as stone. The next morning, there was a text on my phone. "Sarah, you look good last night. Sarah, if you ever want to talk. Or not talk. My door's always open. 12 steps away." I didn't reply, but I didn't delete it either. It happened on a Tuesday. Not a holiday. Not a party. Just a quiet, unremarkable Tuesday. Ashley had left that morning for a 5-day, silent retreat in Sedona. "No phones, no talking, no distractions," she said with a serene smile, pressing her lips to mine. "Just soul work." I told her I'd miss her. She said, "Miss yourself instead. You need to come back to you." And then she was gone. leaving behind the faint scent of patchouli and something else I could never name. By noon, the house was silent. By 4 p.m., I was restless. By 6 o'clock, I'd had 2 bourbons, skipped dinner, and stood by the back window staring at Sarah's kitchen light. At 6:17, she texted, "Sarah, I made too much pasta. Want some company?" I didn't reply right away. I just stared at the screen, feeling the weight of the moment. I could have ignored it. Could have thrown the phone across the room and taken a cold shower. Could have called a friend, gone to the gym, turned on a movie, anything but what I did. Which was reply. Me, sure. 3 minutes later, she was at my door. Barefoot again. A loose sweater that slipped off one shoulder. Nobody. Hair damp, like she just stepped out of the shower. She held a bowl of pasta in one hand, a bottle of red in the other. "I hope you like penne," she said, breezing past me like she belonged. She didn't wait for an invitation to sit. She curled up on the corner of the couch, tucking her legs under her bare thighs smooth against the cushion. "I wasn't hungry," I said, still standing. "Good," she replied, setting the bowl down. "Neither am I." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was heavy, tense, loaded. Every second stretched, every breath louder than it should have been. She leaned forward, poured us both wine, her sweater slipping a little more. "You've been on my mind," she said softly, handing me the glass. I took it, drank it, let the alcohol swirl through my chest like courage I didn't deserve. "Sarah, you don't have to explain," she interrupted, voice low. "I just needed to be near someone who sees me, who feels something. Don't you feel it too?" I didn't answer, but she saw it in my eyes. That's all it took. She stood slowly, walked toward me, stopping just inches away. Her hand reached out, touched the center of my chest, right over my heart. "I won't ask twice," she whispered. And I broke. I dropped the glass to the counter. My hands found her waist, my mouth crushed into hers, and we collided like we'd been waiting lifetimes for the permission to do it. There was no hesitation, no slow build. Her mouth was hungry, lips soft but demanding. I pushed her against the wall, her breath caught in her throat, her nails dragging down my back. The sweater was gone in seconds. Her skin was warm, smooth, flushed with desire. "I've thought about this," she gasped, pulling my shirt over my head. "You, just like this, so many times." I didn't answer. Couldn't. I was lost in the heat of her skin, the way she pressed her body to mine like she was trying to erase the space between us forever. We made it to the couch. Clothing disappeared in frantic pulls. My jeans, her underwear, the sound of her breath hitching when I slipped my fingers between her thighs. She was soaked. I leaned in, lips brushing her ear. Still sure. She answered by pulling me into her, slow and deep. It was more than sex. It was release, need, recklessness. Her moans were soft but urgent, her hands roaming every inch of me like she needed to memorize it all. We moved together like we'd done this 100 times, but it was new, wrong, addictive. She bit my shoulder when she came, hard enough to leave a mark. Afterward, we didn't speak for a long time. We just lay there, her leg over mine, her breath slowing against my chest. That's when the guilt set in. It rolled in like thunder after a lightning strike, delayed but deafening. I looked up at the ceiling, wondering what the hell I had just done. Sarah must have felt the shift. She sat up slowly, pulling the throw blanket around her. "Don't," she said quietly. "Don't what? Don't retreat. Don't make this something ugly." I didn't respond. She leaned over, kissed me once more, this time gentle, almost mournful. Then she stood, gathered her clothes, and let herself out. The silence after the door clicked shut was different now. It wasn't empty. It was haunted. Ashley texted me that night. "Ashley, Sedona is magical. I feel like I'm shedding old skin. I miss your energy." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I turned off my phone and sat alone on the couch where I'd just betrayed her. The morning after Sarah and I crossed the line, I stood in the shower under scalding water, scrubbing myself like I could erase it. Her scent still clung to me. So did the guilt. But the worst part, the part that twisted in my gut like a knife, was that I didn't regret it. Not really. The sex had been explosive, reckless, mind-altering. I hadn't felt that seen, that desired in years. Sarah didn't ask for permission. she took. And I let her, welcomed her, craved her. But now, everything was different. Ashley texted that afternoon, still floating in the glow of her retreat. Ashley, I feel reborn. Seriously, I'm so full of love, I think I might explode. I can't wait to come home and share it with you. I almost threw my phone against the wall. That night, I washed the sheets even though they didn't need it. I vacuumed the floor, cleaned the baseboards, scrubbed the kitchen counters like Sarah's moans might still echo between the grout. By the time Ashley came back 2 days later, the house was spotless. So was my mask. She came home radiant, full of stories about spiritual awakenings and sound healing, and a woman named Moon who taught her how to scream into the void to release ancestral pain. She smelled like Palo Santo and eucalyptus. Her touch was softer than I remembered, like she was rediscovering me 1 inch at a time. She kissed me with slow, lingering passion that first night back, her fingers tracing my jawline like she was trying to map a new version of me. I let her. I played the part, but I couldn't stop thinking about Sarah. And Sarah wasn't making it easy to forget. It started small. A text here, a glance across the lawn, a late-night message that said nothing more than, "I'm remembering the way you taste." Then, one afternoon, while Ashley was on a Zoom call in the upstairs office, Sarah showed up unannounced. No makeup, braless in a loose t-shirt and denim shorts, sipping from an iced coffee like she didn't have a care in the world. "I was in the neighborhood," she said with a grin. "You are the neighborhood," I muttered, pulling her inside before Ashley could see her through the front window. Sarah pushed me against the wall the second the door closed. Her hand slipped down, bold and certain. "I've been patient," she whispered. "I don't feel like being patient anymore." "Sarah, we can't. Ashley's upstairs." Her smile was wicked. "So be quiet." And then her mouth was on mine, and her hand was stroking me to life, and I was too far gone to stop her. It didn't last long, 10 minutes, maybe less. Just her knees on my living room rug, her lips around me, and my hand buried in her hair as I bit down on a pillow to muffle the sounds. After she left, I flushed with shame, but also hunger. She was addictive, like a drug I'd never meant to take, but now couldn't live without. But Sarah wasn't content keeping things casual. That's when the texts started getting riskier, more frequent. "Sarah, I want to taste you again. Soon. Sarah, dreamed about you last night. Woke up soaked. Sarah, I touched myself thinking about the way you sounded when you came in my mouth. Thought you should know. I should have blocked her. Instead, I read each one twice and saved them all. Then came a night Ashley and I were out walking the neighborhood, just before sunset. Sarah passed by with her dog. She wore tight leggings and a sports bra, her body glistening with sweat. She waved at us, at Ashley, like nothing had ever happened. Ashley smiled back. "God, she's stunning, isn't she?" I couldn't breathe. "She flirts with you sometimes," Ashley added with a smirk. "You noticed?" I played dumb. Flirts with everyone. Still, can't blame her. That night, Ashley slid into bed beside me, her hand drifting under the covers. "I've missed you," she whispered. "The old you." I let her take me in her mouth. I closed my eyes, and I imagined Sarah. Things escalated after that. Sarah became reckless. She texted while Ashley and I were out to dinner. "Sarah, wish you were under the table with your hands between my thighs instead." She sent a photo once. Just her in bed, topless, her fingers between her legs, mid-moment. I stared at it for a full minute before deleting it. But the image burned into my brain. That same week, she showed up again. This time with Jason. He waved across the fence. "Sarah says we should all get together soon. Double date." Ashley clapped her hands. "Yes, let's do it." Sarah's eyes met mine over her husband's shoulder. She licked her lips just once. Just enough. I was unraveling, torn between two lives, two women, two versions of myself. I had no idea how close I was to losing control of all of it. It started with a look, nothing overt. No kiesashin, just a moment. Over breakfast, when Ashley set her coffee down, looked at me from across the table, and tilted her head like she was trying to remember the shape of something that used to fit perfectly. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah. What? You've been somewhere else lately." I smiled. Too quickly. Just tired. Work's been nonstop. She held my gaze a little longer than normal, then nodded. "Tired, she repeated softly, like she was testing the word on her tongue. Later that morning, she hugged me before I left for work. Her arms wrapped around me a little too tight. Her face pressed against my neck a little too long. "I miss this version of you," she whispered. I should have said something. I should have stopped everything. But instead, I kissed her forehead and lied again. Me too. Ashley wasn't stupid. She never had been. If anything, her illness had made her even sharper, more attuned to the subtle vibrations between people. She could sense moods before they formed, feel tension like a thread beneath skin, and I had become a walking, vibrating mass of guilt. The first sign she suspected something, she stopped leaving her phone face up. She started watching mine. Not obviously, but enough that I noticed her eyes flick down every time it buzzed. Her smile would falter for a second, just enough to sting. I caught her checking the call log once. She said she was just grabbing it to plug it in. It was the middle of the day. Battery at 82%. She also started asking more questions. "So what did you and Sarah talk about the other day?" She said you two ran into each other. I blinked. "Oh, just neighbor stuff." She said you looked tense. I laughed it off, probably thinking about invoices. Ashley didn't laugh with me. That night, I dreamed I was drowning, gasping, thrashing, and woke up slick with sweat and hard as stone. I rolled over to touch her. She was already watching me. "You've been grinding your teeth," she murmured. "Bad dreams." She didn't reply. The next morning, she was different. Too composed. Too quiet. She made breakfast in silence, but her eyes flicked up every few minutes, studying me like I was a painting she couldn't decide was beautiful or broken. And then, casually, while cracking eggs, "You ever cheat on me?" The words landed like a knife. I choked on my coffee. "What?" She didn't look up. "It's just a question." "Ashley, what kind of question is that?" She shrugged. "One people ask when they've been married for a decade and feel like they're sleeping next to a stranger." I stood there frozen, heart thudding against my ribs. "I haven't," I lied. "Of course not." Her jaw tightened, just slightly. "Okay." That okay was a loaded gun. She let the silence stretch. When I leaned in to kiss her goodbye, she turned slightly, so my lips grazed her cheek instead. It didn't feel accidental. Things only got worse. Sarah's texts became riskier, more desperate. "Sarah, I miss your hands on me. I ache. Sarah, don't ignore me. Sarah, come over. I'm dripping for you. Right now." Once, I didn't realize my phone hadn't locked when I set it down on the nightstand. Ashley came out of the shower, towel wrapped, and glanced at it. I saw her eyes narrow just before the screen dimmed. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah, just spam." She didn't press. But later, I caught her staring at me from across the room, her fingers tapping her knee, lips pressed into a thin, unreadable line. The next morning, she didn't kiss me goodbye, didn't say she loved me, didn't even look up from her journal. The following Friday, she didn't go to yoga. She stayed home. All day. I worked from the guest room. At one point, I went outside to get something from my car and saw her through the upstairs window, holding my phone. Just holding it, not moving. When I walked in, she was back on the couch. Calm, serene. She looked up and smiled, too brightly. "I was thinking," she said, "we should do a cleanse together. A cleanse. Of energy, of truth. Get back to our center." The word truth echoed in my chest like a threat. That night, she made dinner. Candles. Wine. Like old times. She touched my hand across the table and smiled. "I forgive you," she said out of nowhere. I froze. Forgive me for what? She just sipped her wine, gaze unreadable. Nothing. Just in case I need to. I couldn't eat after that. She went to bed early. I stayed on the couch, staring at my phone. 3 unread messages from Sarah. One said, "I think Jason's suspects. He's been cold. We need to talk." Another said, "I can't keep pretending I don't want you every second I see you." The last one, "I want you to leave her." My world wasn't just tilting anymore. It was beginning to crack. And I knew, somewhere in my bones, that Ashley had already seen the fissures. She was just waiting to decide how hard she wanted to swing the hammer. It happened at the farmer's market. That sounds ridiculous now, like a setup for a joke. But it's true. A sunny Saturday morning, kids running around with face paint, old couples carrying bundles of herbs and tomatoes, acoustic guitar playing somewhere in the background, the scent of kettle corn in the air. I was standing in line for coffee when Jason appeared. He didn't speak at first, just stood there, silent, staring. I turned, caught his eye, and forced a nod. Jason. He didn't respond. His eyes didn't blink. Then, slowly, he took one step closer. You think I'm a fucking idiot? My blood went cold. Excuse me. He laughed. But it wasn't humor. It was something raw, guttural, unhinged. Don't excuse me. I've seen the looks. The timing. The way she gets quiet when your name comes up. The way you both avoid being in the same room now, like it's too damn hot to breathe. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Jason didn't wait. He slammed his fist into my jaw before I saw it coming. The world tilted sideways. Pain bloomed through my face like a bomb had gone off inside my cheekbone. I stumbled backward, knocking into the stand behind me. Tomatoes exploded underfoot. Someone screamed. Jason grabbed the front of my shirt and yanked me upright. His breath was hot, furious. Spittle hit my face as he hissed the words. I let you into my house. I fucking trusted you. My wife, my goddamn wife. And you couldn't keep your fucking hands to yourself. I tried to speak, tried to calm him, to explain, to lie something, but all I managed was, it's not what. He punched me again. This time I went down hard. The pavement cracked against the back of my skull. My ears rang. Faces blurred above me. Concerned, horrified, some recording with their phones. I saw Ashley through the haze. She was frozen at the edge of the crowd, mouth parted, eyes locked on me like she couldn't decide whether to run to me or turn away. Sarah wasn't there. She didn't need to be. Her presence hung in the air like gasoline. Police showed up within minutes. Jason was restrained, handcuffed, still shouting. Red-faced, eyes wild. One of the officers knelt beside me, asking questions I couldn't answer. I wasn't bleeding badly, but my head throbbed like I'd been kicked by a horse. They asked if I wanted to press charges. I didn't respond. What would I even say? Yes, officer. This man beat the hell out of me because I fucked his wife 12 feet from his kitchen while my own wife was away finding her soul. Ashley drove me home. The silence in the car was brutal, heavier than the air before a tornado. Her hands were tight on the wheel, her jaw locked. She didn't ask if I was okay, didn't offer an ice pack, or sympathy, or forgiveness. Just parked in the driveway and got out. I followed her inside. When the door closed, she turned to face me. Do you want to tell me what the hell that was? Her voice was calm. That was the scariest part. I rubbed my jaw. It already ached deep in the bone. He thought something was going on. Ashley's arms folded across her chest. And was he wrong? I didn't answer, because I couldn't lie to her anymore. Not now. Not after being punched in the face by the other betrayed spouse in our twisted little neighborhood circle. Ashley's eyes glistened, but she didn't cry. She just nodded, slowly, as if confirming something she already knew. How long? Does it matter? Her eyes flared. It matters to me. I took a breath. A couple months. She turned away, walked into the kitchen. Her fingers were trembling as she opened a fridge and grabbed a bottle of water. Twisting the cap too hard, it cracked in her hand. Water spilled down the side. She didn't notice. I knew, she whispered. I figured. I kept thinking, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just grief. Trauma. The residue of almost dying. She turned to me then, and her face broke. But I knew. I moved toward her. She stepped back. Don't. Ashley, you let her touch you. Inside our marriage. Our house. While I was trying to rebuild myself, you were ripping everything down. I didn't plan it. Her laugh was sharp, bitter. No one plans a betrayal. That's what makes it so easy. I sat down at the kitchen table, head in my hands. Everything was slipping. The house. My marriage. Myself. Ashley sat across from me after a long silence. You want to know the sick part? She said. I didn't answer. I kept thinking this openness we talked about would bring us closer. I thought maybe you'd tell me. Maybe we'd choose it. Explore together. Trust each other. But you didn't even give me that. You just took. I made a mistake. No, she said, voice cutting sharp as glass. You made a choice. We sat like that for a long time. Two people in the rubble of what used to be a home. Later that night, I received a voicemail from Sarah. I think Jason knows everything. I am scared. He's saying things that don't make sense. I need to see you. I deleted it. For the first time, I didn't reply. Not out of guilt. but because I was terrified of what might happen next. Sarah showed up on my doorstep 3 days after the farmer's market blowout, wearing oversized sunglasses, a black hoodie, and enough perfume to make my hallway smell like a department store. She didn't wait for an invitation. "I need to talk to you," she said, stepping past me. I didn't move. "I've been calling," she said, pulling her hood down. "You've been ignoring me. I needed space." Space. She turned on me, her eyes wild. "Jason's losing his mind. He's not sleeping. He's locking his phone. He asked me if I ever cheated on him. He knows. Then maybe we should stop." Sarah stared at me like I'd slapped her. "Stop. We blew up our lives, Sarah." Her eyes narrowed. "I didn't blow up anything. You're the one hiding. You're the one lying to her face while I'm stuck in a house with a man who keeps watching me like I'm a criminal. I didn't ask for this." She stepped in close. Her voice was trembling, but not with fear, with fury. "No, you just fucked me. Again and again. You took everything I gave you and said nothing when I said I was falling. I never promised you anything. You didn't have to." That silence between us was suffocating. Then she said it. "I want you to leave her." It didn't come as a surprise. Not really. I think I've been waiting for it, dreading it, for weeks. Still, hearing it out loud knocked the breath from my lungs. "Leave Ashley," she repeated, voice calmer now. "Be with me. For real. No more hiding. No more pretending. We can do this. Together." I looked at her, standing in my hallway in worn jeans and anger, mascara smudged beneath her sunglasses. She looked nothing like Ashley. And, suddenly, that hit harder than it should have. "I can't," I said. "You won't." Same thing. She stepped back like I'd pushed her. "You're a coward," she said. "Maybe." She left without another word. I didn't follow. That night, I found Ashley in the living room, curled up on the couch under an old blanket she used to love before everything started unraveling. The TV was on, but muted. Her journal sat open on the coffee table, half-filled pages fluttering in the breeze from the window. She didn't look up when I sat beside her. "I need to tell you everything," I said. She shook her head. "I already know." "No, you suspect, but you deserve to hear it. All of it. From me." Her eyes finally met mine. No fire, just exhaustion. So I told her. Not every graphic detail. Not the way Sarah tasted, or how her mouth felt wrapped around me in the dark. But enough. When I finished, Ashley just stared at her hands. "I kept thinking maybe I broke something in you when I got sick," she said softly. "That maybe my journey scared you. Made you feel small. It didn't. Then why? I don't know." She laughed once, dry and bitter. "You do. You just don't want to say it." I felt invisible. Like I didn't matter. You were floating so high above me, I didn't know how to reach you anymore. Ashley nodded, her fingers tightening around the blanket. "I was trying to find myself again," she whispered. "After the hospital, after facing the idea of dying, I didn't even know how to be anymore. And I thought, if I got brighter, lighter, more me, maybe you'd come with me. I didn't know how to, but you knew how to fuck the neighbor." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was filled with every ugly thing neither of us wanted to say. Then Ashley looked at me with eyes that weren't angry, or even sad, just clear. "I need you to hear me," she said. "Really hear me." I nodded. "If you want to leave," she said, "you can. You can have her. You can chase whatever fire you think she lit in you. But if you stay, I need everything. I need honesty. I need effort. I need you to look at me like I still matter. You do matter." She held up a hand. "No, not words. Not tonight. I want you to sit with this. Alone. I'm going to my sister's for the weekend." She stood, kissed my forehead. "Decide who you are," she said. Then she was gone. The next morning, Sarah texted. "Sarah, I'm done waiting. If you want me, say so now. If not, don't ever contact me again." I didn't reply. Not right away. I sat with it. All day. Watched the sunlight shift through the blinds. Felt the weight of two women pulling in opposite directions. One with raw heat and danger. The other with depth and history and pain I helped carve in her bones. By midnight, my heart was pounding. I opened a blank message. Typed Sarah's name. Then erased it. I called Ashley instead. Left a voicemail. "I choose you," I said. "If you'll still have me." I didn't expect her to come back early. Ashley had told me she'd be at her sister's until Sunday night. I was planning to clean the house, delete old messages, finally block Sarah, and maybe, stupidly, try to be the version of myself Ashley could still love. But she came home Saturday afternoon. I heard the front door open as I was folding laundry in our bedroom. Thought maybe it was a neighbor. Then I heard her voice. Soft. Hello. You left your laptop open. My body locked up. She stood in the doorway, holding it in her hands like it was a weapon. I wasn't looking for anything, she said. I was just going to shut it. She opened the screen. My heart dropped. There on the desktop, because of course I'd forgotten to close it, was a folder titled Simply Yes. She didn't have to click. She just stared at it, then looked at me. What's in it? I didn't answer. You couldn't even hide it better, she said. You named a folder after her, like she's a project file. I stepped toward her. Ashley, don't, she snapped. Just don't. I opened it. I swallowed hard. There were pictures, she continued. Messages. Videos. She held up the phone, my phone, and played a voice clip. Sarah's breathy voice came through the speaker. God, I can still feel you inside me. I was sore for 2 days. You love that, don't you? How wrecked I get for you. The room felt like it was collapsing around me. I'm so fucking stupid, Ashley said, laughing bitterly. I thought this was about loneliness. That maybe you got lost. That maybe I played some part in it. I moved closer. Ashley, please. I made horrible decisions, but I want to fix this. You don't fix betrayal. You bury it. Her voice cracked, and tears filled her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. Did you love her? She asked. No, but you wanted to. I said nothing. That's what hurts the most, she whispered. Not just that you cheated, but that you craved her. That some part of you wanted to disappear into her, because it was easier than facing yourself in this marriage. There was a long silence between us. Then her phone rang. She looked at the screen, hesitated. It's Jason. I froze. What? She answered. I couldn't hear what he said, but I watched her face drain of color. Her mouth trembled. Then her eyes flicked to me. I think you need to leave, she said slowly. Now. Ashley, what's going on? She didn't answer, just hung up and stared at the wall. Moments later, there was a loud, furious knock on the front door. I opened it to find Jason, but not the Jason who had punched me once and walked away. This Jason was a man unraveling. His eyes were bloodshot, his jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscle twitching. And in his hand, a phone. Sarah sent me everything, he said. Jason. He pushed past me into the house. Ashley stepped between us. Stop, she said firm. She's pregnant, Jason spat. That hit me like a freight train. What? She says she's pregnant. She wants it. She thinks this means you'll finally leave your wife and play house with her. His laugh was twisted, broken. She says she's sure it's yours. Ashley took a step back like she'd been struck. I stood frozen. That's not possible, I muttered. Jason's eyes were wet now, but his rage didn't waver. My marriage is over. My life is fucking wrecked because you couldn't keep your cock in your pants. And now she's trying to trap you. Jason, I swear. He held up the phone. She sent me photos. When are you sleeping? When are you kissing? A video of you taking her from behind in her goddamn laundry room. Ashley turned away. Get out, she whispered. I didn't move. She spun on me. Get out. Her voice shattered something in me. I backed toward the door. Jason followed me outside. Not with fists, but with something worse. I know your boss, he said. You don't think this shit's going to stay quiet, do you? I've already sent the video to his inbox, along with a note detailing what a team player you are with other people's wives. You wouldn't. I already did. He walked away. I stood there in the driveway as the sky darkened above me. Inside, I could see Ashley pacing, crying. I'd lost her. For real this time. Not through seduction or secrets or Sarah's perfume on my skin, but through the truth. The full truth. Unfiltered. Undeniable. Everything had come crashing down, and I deserved every broken piece. I moved out the next morning. I didn't pack much. Just the essentials, clothes, toiletries, a few books, my laptop. Ashley stayed upstairs while I quietly loaded my car. We hadn't spoken since the confrontation. Not really. Just the last words she'd said the night before. This house can't hold what we've become. I remember standing in the living room, hand on the doorknob, looking around at a space we'd filled with 10 years of life. And I couldn't feel any of it. The couches, the pictures on the wall, the echo of our laughter that used to fill the corners. It was all just static now. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just left. Sarah messaged me later that afternoon. Sarah, I didn't mean for it to blow up like this. Sarah, I thought if Jason knew, he'd finally let me go. Sarah, please, can we just talk? I didn't respond. I didn't want to know if she was pregnant. Didn't want to know if she'd lied to Jason, or if she was telling the truth and carrying a living consequence of a moment I should have never let happen. I rented a month-to-month apartment 2 towns over. Nothing fancy. 2nd floor. A mattress on the floor, a folding chair, a single lamp. For a week, I didn't even bother with groceries. Just takeout and silence. My boss called. Said the video had made the rounds. Said corporate didn't want to be associated with a scandal. They didn't fire me. Not officially. But they cut my hours. Froze my projects. I got the message. I quit 2 days later. My inbox was empty. My phone barely rang. Friends vanished. Some chose sides. Others just drifted, uncomfortable with the heat of proximity. I spent my days walking aimlessly, sitting in parks, drinking too much coffee, trying to write, to reflect, to process. But mostly I just felt hollow, like I was living inside an echo of my old self. One night, 2 weeks after it all collapsed, I got a knock at my door. It was Ashley. She stood there in jeans and a hoodie, no makeup, hair in a messy braid. She looked tired, but calmer than I expected. I don't want to yell, she said. I stepped aside. She sat on the edge of the folding chair. I sat on the mattress. Neither of us said anything for a long time. Then she pulled a small photo from her pocket. Us, 3 years ago, laughing on a beach, arms wrapped around each other like the world didn't know how to touch us. I used to love this picture, she said. Now I can barely look at it. I'm sorry. She nodded. I know. Silence again. I've been seeing a therapist, she said eventually. Not because of you. Because of me. I needed to understand why I stayed so long without asking for what I really needed. I swallowed. And what did you need? Truth. Depth. Intimacy. Not just sex. Connection. She looked at me. You chased that in someone else because I stopped offering it to you. I own that. But you didn't ask for it, either. You ran. I nodded. I know. We sat there in the quiet hum of the cheap apartment lights. I'm not here to fix anything, she said. I'm not even sure we'll ever speak again after this. I nodded again. She stood. But before she walked to the door, she turned one last time. You're not a monster, she said. But you are the reason this ended. And if you don't learn from it, you'll just break the next thing you build, too. Then she left. And for the first time since it all began, I cried. Not because I missed her, though I did. Not because of Sarah, or the job, or the shame. But because I saw myself. Truly saw myself. And what I'd become. It wasn't some seductive fantasy or tragic victimhood. It was a man who stopped showing up, who stopped speaking up, who let himself slip into the shadows and then blamed the darkness for everything that followed. I started therapy the next week. Not to get her back, but to try and get myself back. Sarah messaged again months later. A photo of a newborn. No chin. I didn't reply. I still don't know if it's mine. Maybe someday I'll have the strength to find out. To offer something honest. But not yet. I am rebuilding. From the ground up. No lies. No shortcuts. No illusions. Just the wreckage. And the bricks. And the quiet, painful work of laying them one at a time.